G'day, Jason here from In Search of Australia. This video is a bit different. I've taken on board some of the comments that have appeared in my videos, and I really do appreciate all the subscribers and people who've liked the videos. Sort of makes me think I should keep doing it. In this case, I was asked exactly what the process was to finding the gemstones and classifying them. So what I'm doing in the video today is how to find sapphires. First place you can get sapphires is by digging down into the gravel bed of an ancient river. You'll find that you come down past soil and clay, and then you'll find a gravelly layer, and that's where the sapphires will sit. Another place you can look for sapphires is in crevices on bedrock. This one here I think's been cleaned out because just behind me is the wash layer left from people, and they've had a bit of a camp here as well. I noticed over there, willow has recently fallen, and that might also have something in the base of the roots where it's lifted out of the ground. Very similar to gold, you will find gemstones in the same places. So behind that granite boulder is the roots and a whole lot of other boulders that are stuck to it. So I might try there, and I'll try in the riverbed. So the key equipment you're going to need is obviously a shovel, trowel, something to dig up the gravel or under the rocks or in the crevices. Sometimes people get crowbars and little crevicing tools. But you need something to dig with. A gem sieve. Gem sieves have the 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch mesh. These go together, and this is what we put our gravel through to classify it. If you're just testing, I suggest to have a gold pan, which then you can put the gem sieve on the gold pan, put your material in the top, then classify it, and you've got that left in case there's gold. Sometimes there is gold, as well as the smaller gemstones. And finally a bucket to both hold your gravel, but if you're going to do a large amount, you can use the bucket to capture the extra silt and smaller pieces to then either sluice or pan later. I've already got some gravel here, which I'll use, and we'll go through the process. Okay, so I've got my trowel, my gem sieve, and I'm going to use the gold pan as the catcher for all the silt and any potential gold. So we place them above each other, 1/4 inch above the gold pan, 1/8 inch above that. So they should sit in together. Now I can put this under the water for the moment, like so. Then I'm going to bring my gravel and just put it in the sieve. Now remember, the gold pan is underneath. We don't want to do too much, because if you put too much in, I find that the sieve becomes ineffective. So usually about 2 spades or 2 shovelfuls is the maximum. So I've got that. I can now put that aside. It's heavy enough just to sit in the river. I've got my gold pan underneath, and I'm going to rub the gravel. Now the place I got this gravel from is quite clayey, so it does take a while. As you can see, I've got to break up these pieces to get down to the gravel level. So keep scouring it, and if you want to see what I'm doing, I'm just pushing it against the grill to break it up. At this point, I'm not too concerned about finding gems, but I can consider throwing some of the rocks. So there's a bit of quartz. Looks like another piece of quartz. Now, if I had a metal detector, I might check the quartz, because sometimes you have little gold veins running through it. And that's really nice if you get that. But in this case, it actually looks like a whole lot of little clusters of crystals, but I'll put it up there. You may, every once in a while, find a large gem. That wasn't one. And I'm going to go through that. And I can see this is still a little bit of clay, and I've got to really break up. If you get the clay out of the riverbed, it's usually much easier to clean up because it's already wet. Because this clay is from a dry area, it's become like concrete and it takes a little while to really clean up. So, just saw that. I'm just checking what it is. Oh, it's ironstone. So I'll just put this over here, and we go to the next level, and again rub it. If you find you've got little bits of bark and stuff, you can sort of just sink it under, and it usually floats away. It's one of the benefits of being in a stream. You can clean it up a bit easier. So rub that again. Sort of want to keep doing it until you stop getting that silt. Now, looking at this, I could probably do a little bit more. So I'm going to bring the tray over again and add more. So I'm going to keep cleaning this up, and I won't bore you with a lengthy version of it, but you can see what I'm doing now. Over there. So now I've cleaned this up, you'll see that the gold pan is quite full. And what I can do with this is I can either set up the sluice or slowly pan it. So I'm just going to set the gold pan aside. Get my sieve back and put them together. Now, when agitating this, it needs to be like a rocking motion, like so, but just under the water. So what happens is it ends up being in a line, and what it's doing is it's sending all of the heavy stuff to the middle. So you flatten it out like I just did then by going straight down under the water. Try not to bump too far off to the left or right because you just spread it again. We do this a few times because what we're doing is giving the opportunity for the heavy things to get to the center. And so what should happen underneath this is our heavies. I'm going to just put this aside for now, and I'll concentrate on this pan. It's a bit of purple in there, but it was like a plant. All right, same concept. Create the line, pat out, create the line, pat out, and I've now classified this one. You can see a nice little quartz point there. I'm going to leave it in there for the moment. We then need to turn these. So I've set up over here a painter's mat. This helps things stay where they are, because if you put it straight onto a rock or even the ground, things bounce. I like to, when I'm working these piles and building them up, is flatten that, because it really helps. So we'll try the larger classified ones first. And it's like a pancake. You don't want it to move around. Now it is good to, not sure if that's zircon or quartz, that one. Just going to get my tweezers. And I'd say it's quartz. Okay, and then I'm going to do this one, and again it's this motion. I do it one-handed. Some people flip from here back. I find as long as you're going to flip and keep everything still where it is in the sieve, it doesn't matter. And straight away I can see the sapphires. I'll just get my other camera so we can get a close-up of that. So I've turned the pan, and you look in the center. You can see there. There's the sapphire. That's one of them. So I'm going to put that aside here. There is another one. Just there. That's two. Now when you look in here, you might want to just check around everywhere. You should see black rocks, whether it's ironstone or spinel, more in the center of your pile. That means that you've actually agitated it correctly and can easily spot these things. So you'll notice that the sapphires were sitting right smack bang in the middle on the top. Now you will notice that I've been making this pile and keep putting everything on the same spot. The reason I do that is right at the end I can just take out the center part of this. So grab it all and re-sieve it, just in case I've missed things, but everything should still be in the center. Now it's important to understand indicator rocks. So what I've got here is a piece of spinel. It's like a black crystal. You can often mistake spinel for sapphire and sapphire for spinel. So you've got to be careful and lift things to the light. When you lift this one up to the light, you don't see anything. It's not transparent at all, totally opaque, but it still has that crystal quality to it. The other thing you can find is ironstone, so they're like little round black rocks. Again, if you're seeing those, you're in the right spot. So if we were to speed this up, we'd put it through the sluice, but I'm going to show what most people will have is a gold pan. So we're going to agitate to try and get the heavies on the bottom. So if you agitate underwater, just quick rotations like this, backwards and forwards, what we're doing is making sure the light stuff stays on top and the heavies make their way through it all. So everything that's sort of up at the edge of the pan now, you'll see that it floated across very quickly. That's really light. All of that wobbling around there is light. So you can actually be a little bit aggressive at first at that top layer to get rid of it. So I'm just putting water in, letting it run out quickly and take that top layer. Because you've agitated it, and we always go back to agitate again, just in case we have started moving the heavies closer to the edge of it. But they tend to stay. I can say gold doesn't move much at all. You still want to be careful though when you're getting to that end point. You can see the clay here is very consistent yellow, very hard to clean off. But for some reason the sapphires rarely have it stuck to it. They must resist it. So this isn't really to get sapphires or a major gemstone. What this is to basically check an area. So if I didn't get anything in the sieves, I'd be wanting to see what was in the pan, just in case I'd missed out on ones that are in the area I'm digging. So we really do want to check. You can see that I'm slowly reducing this. So all of those rocks there, see how they float around really easily when I move the water? We don't want any of those. Again, make sure you've agitated it to keep all the heavy stuff on the bottom. So now I'm concentrating more in the corner, so we're pushing things down into the corner of the pan. So just going side to side. And sometimes you start seeing spinel up here, and that's a good indicator that you're washing too heavily. So again, using those indicator stones to check what you're doing. So I'm starting to see spinel back here, but not much up this way. Don't agitate and go forward, because that will dislodge things. So always agitate, wash out. So it's a bit early to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm just going to spread the wash, and straight away I can see numerous sapphires. There's a green one. There's a couple of different blue ones, lots of zircon. I'll check for gold at the end. Down in this spot here, I know that this gravel's no good, so I can actually just scrape that out. Just to get rid of that extra bits, like that. And I can do it again. So when you tip out most of the water, just have enough so it moves, you can knock the pan and wash around in a circular motion. And what should happen is, if you have gold, it'll be up in this area here. And I can see like the tiniest speck there. It probably won't show up on the camera. but it's only one speck, so it's not exactly something to write home about. Now another thing, I could set up the sluice and run this through that, which I might do just this once, but the other thing you could do, if you don't really want to work with this straight away, is actually put it all back in the bucket and maybe pan it at home or do something like that. So you can keep this stuff for later and keep going. So using the sluice for the finer particles, you'll see the way that it works is it's got these sort of little fish tails almost, which create turbulence, and all the pieces sort of go into those and turn back up into the hooks as it goes down the sluice. The lighter materials bounce around and keep bouncing around until they sort of bounce off and out, and eventually you're left with a lot of the heavier stuff back up at this end. You'll see that it's slowly moving through. You'll notice the little stones dancing around. They just keep doing that until it eventually removes all the lighter stuff. Sometimes you need to sort of adjust it so it's a bit more even and going fast enough. So you can see those stones dancing around. Usually up in this upper section is the heavier stuff straight away. In previous videos you would have seen I found gold in the text up the top. I'm going to get the sluice, and when we lift the sluice we need to be careful we don't lose anything. I'm going to add it to what I already have in the pan here, so we don't want to lose anything from the sluice, which means I'm going to hold it over the pan and loosen. Now in previous videos you would have seen me do it in a bucket, which is far easier than the pan, to be honest, but as long as you're containing where this goes, it doesn't matter which one you use. So I'm going to pull this out onto the pan. Just going to put that there in the bucket. Now what you need to be mindful of is that the top end, the very first divots or little fish hook patterns, is where most of the heavy stuff is, so we really need to be careful. And you can see I'm keeping it over the pan. I put the pan in the water and turn it inside out in the pan. It's now there. So we now pan the remains, and what this has done is it's just made it a lot more efficient. I'm not going through a ton of soil to see what's in the area. Now the sluice is far more suited to gold, and at the moment I haven't really got into proper gold territory. There is gold in these areas around Oberon, but it's not really what it's known for. So you can see the sapphires I found. This is mixed with just a couple I found at Campbell's River. I didn't find many, so I think it's just that dog's tooth one's Campbell's River. The rest was in my demonstration wash. And that's actually from Sapphire Bend. The little pieces, I mean, I don't think any of them can be faceted or done anything with, but you know, they're good for shits and giggles if you want, or you can actually make a nice little jar of them and they look nice together. I hope you enjoyed this How to Find Sapphires episode. I will always respond to feedback and look forward to any comments on ways to improve things or things I did wrong. I'm always there to learn, but I will respond and I'm happy to take requests.